Okay, we'll get started in about a minute. All right, here we go. A couple quick notes. My internet this morning has been a little bit unreliable. I don't know. We're going to see what happens. I am recording the class, so if everything goes south on this and you can't hear or the video is all messed up, then I will post the class right after it. But we'll see what happens. Here we go. By the way, I have, if you turn in your test, I've already graded it as of like 20 minutes ago. I graded everyone's test. Everyone hasn't turned it in, but if you've turned in your test, then I do have it graded at this time. General comments, it was good. Some of you did very well. Others of you made simple mistakes. So far, of everyone that I've graded, I haven't seen anyone that was completely and totally clueless. Yeah, it was pretty good results so far. All right, new chapter that we're starting. New chapter. Here's the calendar. We will not get through the end of the chapter by the end of the or before spring break. So we'll pick up chapter 10. Now, there's only 3 chapters left, by the way. So the end is in sight, so to speak. Chapter 10 is both easy and hard. Today will be a nice easy day. The first couple lessons, easy day. It's challenging only because, not today, but the chapter, it's challenging only because there's a lot of new stuff and it's stuff that you've never seen before. It's easy in the sense of once you understand it, it's no big deal, but it's not one of those things where if you're not paying attention, you can kind of just look at it and figure it out yourself. So I'm just going to warn you, chapter 10 is both easy and challenging at the same time. All right, your homework tonight is a worksheet. It's already posted on Teams. It's 10.1 worksheet, and here we go. So this entire chapter deals with inequalities. There is a couple equations occasionally thrown in towards the end here, but the majority of it is all about inequalities. 4 things that we're going to do today, one at a time. So let's talk about inequalities. And to talk about inequalities, let's contrast inequalities with equalities. So I'm going to compare and contrast equations and inequalities. So here's an equation, and well, you've heard me say this many times. What makes it an equation is, well, it's got an equal sign. But what an equal sign literally means is that the 2 sides of the equation, the left-hand side and the right-hand side, their values are the same. Now notice those numbers are clearly not the same, 2, 6, 1, and 7, but the values of the left side, 2 plus 6, is equal to the value of the right side, 1 plus 7. That's what makes it an equality. Contrast that with an inequality. It's the same basic idea. You still have a left side and a right side, but those 2 sides will no longer be equal. So an inequality, it does 2 things. One, it says that the left side does not equal the right side. But the second thing, and kind of the more fine point here, is that it compares the 2. It's going to tell you which side is larger, left side or right side. And you're familiar with these symbols. It's very rare that I get someone that makes it to 9th grade they've never seen these symbols before, but I will definitely get kids in 9th grade that can't tell me what these symbols are. We may read these symbols from left or right, either way, but when we say the actual, if it's just the symbol, these 4 symbols sitting there all by themselves, we read it from left to right, just the symbol. So as we read this one from left to right, we come to the small side. They've got a small side and an open side. We come to the small side, so that makes it the less than symbol. That makes that the greater than. I'm reading it from left to right. That makes it the less than or equal to, or the greater than or equal to. But I want to tell you, you can read the symbol either going from left to right or right to left. But if I simply ask you to name the symbol, I'm asking you to read it from left to right. And those are the names that you need to have in your memory banks. Okay, so any one of those four symbols goes in there, and that makes it an inequality. So that's the first point I want to make. Second point, recall that we can write equalities two different ways. So we can write this equation right here, x equals 4, a second way. And that would be to put the 4 on the left side and the x on the right side. Now, notice there is no difference between these two equations. They both say the same thing, that x is equal to the value of 4. If I read this one from left to right, the first one, it says x equals 4. If I read the second one from left to right, it says 4 equals x. But they are identical equations. Turns out, for the inequality world, right, for the inequality, we can do exactly the same. This says, if I read it from left to right, x is less than 4. But since I can read it also from right to left, this says 4 is not less than, I'm reading from right to left now, 4 is greater than x. Maybe it would help to write that. So if I write 4 is greater than x, right, from left to right, then these two inequalities are exactly the same. Make sure you look at that and you understand this. This says x is smaller than 4. Well, this one also says x is smaller than 4. But on the left one, I'm reading it from left to right. And on the right one, I'm reading it right to left. Now, there's no rule that says which way you have to read it, with the exception of, previous slide, if I'm talking about the four symbols, if I'm talking about these four symbols right here, if I'm talking about those four symbols floating out there all by themselves, then I must read them from left to right. And this one is only called the less than symbol. If you're talking about the greater than symbol, it looks like this. Contrast that when as soon as I put that into an actual inequality, it would look like this. So that is the second thing to keep in your head, that you can read it right to left or left to right. But if you're talking about the individual symbol, the one I'm circling right now, that is the less than symbol, and the individual symbol right here, that is the greater than symbol. All right, so that does cause some confusion at first. All right, we're going to do four things today. By the way, there is nothing, if I taught you pre-algebra last year, there is nothing in this presentation that I didn't already teach you last year. So this is straight up section number 1, a review. Now, we do have a number of people that I did not teach last year. So let's see if that's true for you as well. All right, so I'm going to give you some text, and you're going to need to write the inequality. We've done this before. This was chapter 1 stuff where I gave you some text and you wrote an equation. Now I'm going to ask you to write the inequality. So here are the steps to do that. I read it, all real numbers x less than or equal to -7, and I parse out the individual pieces of that sentence that make the inequality. And by that I mean you read a portion of it. All real numbers x, all real numbers x. Well, we would represent that by this symbol x. All real numbers x, parse out some more, less than or equal to, so the less than or equal to symbol is right there. And the last part says less than or equal to -7. So I throw in a -7 and there's your inequality. Tonight for homework, they'll give you some of these to write, or to read, and then you write the inequality. Now they do get, and this is the one that we did last year in pre-algebra. They can get more complicated. Here's a slightly more complicated one. It says 6 less than a number k is greater than 13. So we read it, parse out the information. 6 less than a number k. If there's one you're going to mess up, it's the one that involves subtraction. 6 less than. Well, wait a minute. Less than sure sounds like that it is a inequality, and it sounds like you should put immediately less than, you should put the less than symbol. But it actually turns out that you're going to be finding the word, not always, but most of the time, the word is, and what follows next is the inequality. Okay, so don't go, whenever they use subtraction, a lot of times they will say the word less than. That doesn't mean inequality less than. There's not a word is. It means less than, in other words, subtraction. So 6 less than a number k would be k minus 6. Now, why didn't I write 6 minus k? It doesn't say k less than 6. It says 6 less than k. If you are 6 less than, you are subtracting 6 from some value, and that value is k. So 6 less than a number k is k minus 6. is greater than, so that's the greater than symbol, and then 13. Okay. These can get slightly challenging, this one specifically, the ones involving subtraction. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. Let's do a couple more. All real numbers p greater than or equal to 1.5. Notice there is no word is here. However, this one's not too hard to figure out. So if I parse it out, all real numbers p would be the variable p, greater than or equal to, well, that's a greater than or equal to symbol, 1.5, and you're done. Easy one, same as last year. Challenging one. The sum of t and 7 is less than. So here's your is right here. The sum of t and 7. The sum of t and 7. That's adding t and 7. Right? T and 7. Is less than. Well, that's a less than symbol. And then -3, and you're done. All right. They can get more challenging. A couple words that I'd like to point out to you. These are the magic words. Remember the $10 word for addition. I'm sorry, for subtraction. For subtraction is difference. Difference, D-I-F-F. That's the $10 word for subtraction. The $10 word for multiplication is product. And the $10 word for division is quotient, Q-U-O, quotient. So if you need to write those down, you will see these. Write those down. So quotient means division. Product means multiplication. Difference means subtraction.